If you love podcasting as much as I do, you may be considering starting your own. Starting a podcast has been one of the best decisions I have ever made, but getting started can feel overwhelming. Buzzsprout is the easiest and most professional way to start a podcast. Buzzsprout has helped over 100,000 people launch their own podcasts, including me. Buzzsprout will launch your show on all of the major podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Play, to name a few. You also get a podcast website, audio players that can be dropped into other websites, and stats of who is listening, and so much more. Buzzsprout also publishes blog posts, podcasts, and YouTube videos every week. They are great tools and have useful information from expert podcasters. To start your own podcast and get a $20 Amazon gift card, follow the link in our show notes. This lets Buzzsprout know that I sent you, and it supports my show. Buzzsprout, the easiest way to start a podcast.
Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey, Chaos Kids. I'm Amber.
And I'm Naomi. And this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos.
Hi.
Hi, sis.
Hi.
How are you?
It's 2023. I'm amazing. How are you?
2023. It's going to take me a while to write that properly. I
feel like
I'm still writing 2020.
Oh, honey. Well, those were the dark times. Those were the dark times.
Stuck
We missed a lot that year. Please don't take anybody else back to 2020. Please don't.
God,
we don't want to go. No.
You know what? We did a lot of growing in 2020, though.
Oh, my God.
We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So much growth. You're right.
Mm-hmm,
wow.
Mm-hmm. Lots of things changed. Hey, you know what? 2020 was the year you started the podcast.
Oh, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Some people said that I had like a mental health breakdown.
Well, you
but
did.
Actually,
you did.
I had a breakthrough.
You know what? As a friend of mine who sent me one of his favorite songs as that is about, keep on going, is the one of the chorus lyrics is there's beauty in the breakdown. So, It's okay. Rock bottom is the foundation that I've built my life upon. It's okay.
Good
Breakdowns
for you.
are good. Breakdowns can be good.
For you.
Yeah, you just got to make it through.
It has been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's new? What's going on? What's happening?
Well, we're just plunking along here. My house looks like a home now, so that's amazing. And Michael starts his new job.
Yes.
He got a job. He will no longer be running his own business. So,
well, there's some relief in that.
As two gals that run a business, it never fucking ends.
It never ends.
It never
ends. Look, and I'm doing I don't even get to call it startup life anymore. Like I used to be able to kind of throw out the hashtag startup life excuse, but we're not even a startup anymore. Our video game studio has almost 60 people in it now. We're like a proper proper studio doing the work and building a video game. It's a lot.
Shit,
it's
sister.
a lot.
I bet.
Yeah, it never stops.
Proud of you.
Yeah, thanks, sissy.
I know.
What are you drinking today?
Oh, thank you for asking. I am drinking, again, that red from Portugal because it's fucking delicious. And it has a music note on it, and it's called Synfonia.
Oh, you're one of those people. You find a thing and you just stick with it for a while.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a grab bag with the splash wine order. Every once in a while, I'll come across one that's like, well, that's going to be a cooking wine because that's gross.
Yeah, but that's not how cooking wine's supposed to work,
No, but it's not gross, but it's great in a red sauce, but I don't want to have more than one glass of that to drink.
Fair enough.
I have a few of those.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But they do say that you're only supposed to cook with wines you actually want to drink. That's what they say.
Mm-hmm.
They, you know who they are. They.
Yeah, the people. Last night I made beef Wellington again for my third time.
You're fancy.
I know. And that calls for a sherry cooking wine.
I've never actually had beef Wellington. When are you going to make me beef Wellington?
Okay. It's fucking amazing. Does that sound like something you'd be into?
No, yes. You need to have me and Jake over for dinner and you need to cook us beef Wellington. That's what I'm saying.
It's pretty bougie. I use
That's my request. That's my goal for 2023. That is a solid goal for 2023. Amber feeds Naomi and Jake beef Wellington made from scratch.
Yeah, it's one of the few things. I use Gordon Ramsay's recipe, and not to bash on English cuisine, but it's one of the few things that's actually really delicious. They're not known for their food.
They really
the way
aren't.
That, Italy is, but it's delicious. So yes, I will have you over. What's new with you? I already asked you that.
It's okay. It's okay. You know what? We're excited. We want to get into it. You've got a crime for me today.
I've got a crime that's very fucking sad that you will be familiar with.
Are you going to make me cry again?
Okay, that is not my goal, but it could happen.
Okay. Hold on. I got to grab a tissue just in case.
Okay.
All right. I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay. Yeah, this one's local. I'm going to take you to Renton, Washington.
Okay.
So, nurse and mother of three daughters, ages 7, 10, and 12, Ingrid Lyne, had just started putting herself out in the dating world again post-divorce. She worked at Swedish Hospital Cherry Hill as the nurse and shared custody with her ex-husband, Phil. And on April 8th, 2016, which was a Friday, she had a date with someone that she met online who she had been seeing for about 4 weeks.
I know this story. God damn it, sister.
Yeah. You're familiar with this one?
I know this one. I'm pretty sure I've actually mentioned to you a long time ago, like, you need to do this story.
You did. It's been on my list since I started the pod.
Okay.
So she was really excited about this date. She was telling her coworkers about it. The two were going to go to the Mariners game that night. So Ingrid and John met up. They went to the game. And afterwards, they went to a local bar called Box House, which was the bar where her date's sister worked.
Okay.
I haven't heard of Box House. Have you?
Box House in Renton or Box House downtown by the stadium?
Downtown by the stadium.
Never heard of it.
Okay.
But I've been out of the drinking scene for a long time, so I don't go to bars much anymore.
I don't drink in public.
Amber's like Amber's like George Thorogood. She drinks alone.
I was just going to say that sounded all wrong, actually. And now I'm actually texting my 19-year-old to bring me the bottle. Okay, you know what I did?
I'm not leaving this spot. Bring me my bottle.
I took a picture of the bottle so that I could tell you what I was drinking very intentionally so that it wasn't in here where I could just pour myself glass after glass because I have shit to do.
You did that last time.
Right. And now I've done it again, but I underestimated my needs. Okay. So they go to the Mariners game. They go to the Box House. So the next morning, ex-husband Phil pulls up to Ingrid's house with the kids in Renton to drop them off. And Ingrid's Toyota Highlander isn't in the driveway and she's not answering the door. So he calls Ingrid's mom and he's like, hey, where's she at? Blah, blah, blah. And her mom doesn't know. So she comes over because she has a spare key to Ingrid's house. So they go inside and they find Ingrid's purse and her cell phone. And since her mom is like so smart and such a badass, they share a family plan with their cell phone. So mom gets online and starts looking through Ingrid's call log.
Yes.
Yeah. And she sees a number that came up really frequently over the last few days. And so then mom goes and puts this number into Facebook.
What?
And a profile for John Charlton comes up. This is mom PI.
Okay. Also,
good for you.
She's probably a boomer, so I'm really extra proud of her.
I'm right. Mom is like, oh, we're having none of this. I'm going to fucking figure this out. Right?
How old are her kids? How many kids does she have and how old are they?
She has 3 daughters, 7, 10, and 12.
Okay.
Also, she's a nurse. So Ingrid's a fucking badass too.
Right.
Right. Come on. So she finds this profile. John Charlton comes up and they conclude that this must have been the person that Ingrid had a date with the night before.
Right.
So Ingrid's mom sends John a text And he responds.
Oh.
And yeah. She tells him who she is and asks him when was the last time he saw Ingrid. And John tells her that they went out to the game the night before and then they parted ways. Yeah, just a cash date to the ball game.
Okay.
When he learns that Ingrid is missing, he at first seems genuinely shocked. And Ingrid's mom then calls the Renton police and reports her daughter missing.
Okay. And then they said, call back in a week. We'll take you seriously.
Yeah. Our detective will be in on Monday.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So about 6 hours later and about 10 miles away, a man calls 911. This is a trigger warning. And says that he was bringing his recycling bin back up and it felt unusually heavy. And when he looked inside, he saw 3 separate white trash bags. And when he looked closely at the bags, he could see that inside the bags, one of the bags was a human foot.
I knew this was coming and I'm still like, ugh.
When he looks closer in another bag, he's not opening them. They're white, but they're sort of see-through.
Right,
you know?
like those Glad bags. You can they're not thick. Yeah.
They're not thick. When he looks closer at another one of the bags, he can see the outline of a human face.
Oh my God.
I know.
Can you imagine? No, you cannot. No, we cannot imagine.
Do you know what? In this episode on the HLN channel that I was watching this thing about, this man, even when he's being interviewed for this little docuseries, he is just sobbing. Like, he is so traumatized.
Yes.
And he just seems like a pumpkin of a human. It's so fucking sad.
God.
So he can see that, and then he can also see that the toenails are painted.
Mm-hmm.
So the police respond along with the medical examiner, and inside the bag, they find a head, a leg, and part of an arm. So the police begin looking in every recycling bin across the city. And then when the police check to see if there were any missing women reported in the area, Ingrid's name and picture comes up. This is another trigger warning.
Okay.
Because the body it hadn't even started decomposing yet at all, they were able to identify right away that it was Ingrid based on the contents of the bag, comparing it to the photo of her missing.
Oh my God.
Which when I heard that, it just gave me the fucking chills. Police bring John Charlton in for questioning.
Yeah.
And the first question, yeah.
Yep.
The first question they ask him, which isn't even an interrogation question, it's just like, let's get formalities out of the way. They ask him where he lives, and he tells them that he is homeless.
He's homeless?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, it's like, I mean, I guess we'll get into it afterwards, but it's like, she's obviously very successful and beautiful, and he is, I don't want to give him credit for anything, but like very handsome. And like, you meet somebody online and you think it's just like a normal date, like you're going to the ball game, and you have no idea that you're like dating you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, I know what you mean.
You just don't Yeah. You just don't know.
I mean, the odds are so slim.
I know, but the fact that the odds exist is fucking terrifying.
But here's the thing, like, the odds exist, like, just existing, right? As a woman, especially, like,
of course.
Anyway,
yeah, absolutely.
So he's homeless.
They ask him about his relationship with Ingrid, and he says that they started dating about a month ago. He said that they had gone to the Mariners game the night before. They were both drinking heavily, and that she dropped him off downtown at the end of the night. He said that she didn't want him staying over because her kids were being dropped off early the next morning. He says that he stayed the night outside on a sidewalk next to a building. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wait. Okay. So is she paid for this whole date then?
I had exactly that same question.
And then the other thing that came to mind was they were drinking heavily at the ball game. At what? Like,
because that's expensive.
$12 a beer? Like, who is bankrolling this fucking date?
She probably is, or at the box house.
I mean, still,
yeah.
Okay.
I know. Yes. So yeah, he stayed the night on the sidewalk. The police then start asking him questions about his normal movements in his day-to-day life, and John Charlton becomes angry. And he doesn't like the questions about his life, and he doesn't understand how that has anything to do with a missing persons case.
Okay.
Don't worry about me and the sidewalk I'm sleeping on. Mind your business. Right?
Right.
He does tell them that he is sometimes invited to stay at his ex-girlfriend's house in Lake Stevens. And so the police start questioning him about his relationship with his ex-girlfriend and whether or not it was a romantic relationship. And that's when John says that he would like a lawyer.
Lake Stevens is far. Is he living on the streets of Seattle?
It doesn't say like where his normal staying place is.
And also like
because
did he say that he went back to her place and then she went, or did they part ways? I mean, did they part ways after the bar and she supposedly drove herself home?
So he changes his story more than once.
Great.
First, he says they part ways. Then he later on says that they went back to her place and had sex, and then she dropped him off downtown.
She went back to Renton, had sex with him, and then drove him back to Seattle.
Correct.
To go sleep on the street, which she clearly didn't know.
Right.
And his ex-girlfriend in Lake Stevens sometimes lets him sleep. How does he get to Lake Stevens? I'm sorry. He has no house. He has no car. How is he getting to Lake Stevens? That is a fucking haul from Seattle.
Well, first off, this ex-girlfriend, here's what I think.
Sorry, I am just
ahead.
like...
No, we're getting ahead. And I'll post pictures, but he is very handsome. And I don't know that that obviously Ingrid, and maybe not the ex-girlfriend either, knew how fucking problematic this guy is. So
clearly,
I can see it not being difficult for him to have people do things for him.
Right. Come get me. I need a ride.
Yeah.
Can I crash with you? Something's going on at my place and I need a place. And
totally. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So fucking con man as well as a murderer. Okay. Keep
exactly.
going. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
So yeah. So the officers are like, is it a romantic relationship? And he's like, I want a lawyer. So the two officers stop questioning him and they leave the room, but the cameras are still rolling. And John rolls up his jacket as a pillow and lays down on the floor and takes a nap.
What?
Uh-huh. He's like, well, it probably feels really good in there if you slept
warm.
on the sidewalk.
Right. Yeah, sure.
There's carpet. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
This
so
guy.
Police then go on to search Ingrid's home, and they find empty containers that used to have garbage bags in them. They also find a pruning saw in the bathroom.
What?
Like, who fucking has a pruning saw in their bathroom?
Oh my God.
Uh-huh. Lab results would later show skin, bone, and tissue on the saw. And they also found blood and pieces of tissue in the bathtub drain. About a week after those first remains were found, Ingrid's torso is found inside of another recycling bin.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Then on April 18th, 2016, 9 days after Ingrid first went missing, a leg is found at the Seattle recycling plant.
Oh my God. By like a worker, probably.
Yes, by a worker. The fucking...
Where's her car?
Yeah. The car... Well,
okay.
We're getting there.
Great.
Yeah. So police end up going back to search Ingrid's house again, and this time they completely disassemble the bathtub drain, and they find further evidence that Ingrid was in fact dismembered in her own bathtub.
Oh, for God's sake.
The medical examiner does an autopsy and determines that Ingrid had hemorrhaging in her eyes and clear marks around her neck indicating strangulation.
That was going to be my guess.
Yep. And the same week that this happens, Ingrid's SUV was found in Belltown.
Oh.
Just sort of ditched.
Okay.
And inside the SUV are the same trash bags that were used to wrap her body parts. Yeah. Police end up talking to John Charlton's ex-girlfriend in Lake Stevens, and she says that John was supposed to be at her house that Saturday morning to help her do yard work, but that he called and said that something had come up and that he was going to be late.
He couldn't find the pruning saw.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And when he showed up later that afternoon, he had abrasions on his face and a swollen lip.
Oh, so she fought him.
Yeah. Yep. He told the ex-girlfriend that someone had robbed him the night before.
Okay.
Robbed him for what? I don't know.
Right. The homeless guy with nothing.
Right. Yeah. So, with all of the circumstantial evidence, John Charlton is arrested for the murder of Ingrid Lyne, and police are able to obtain his criminal record, and they find multiple charges spanning 6 different states.
Oh, my God.
I mean, okay, I was listening to a podcast. I don't remember which one now. Fuck. Oh, I think it was Strictly Stalking. And they were talking about why it's not a prerequisite for like dating apps to screen criminal backgrounds.
Oh, I was also watching something that was talking about this too a while ago. And it's like a whole thing because like places like Match and OkCupid, like they won't do it.
Mm-mm.
They absolutely will not.
No, I just, yeah, it's just so fucking scary. Mm-hmm. It's so scary. I mean, she just walked right into a fucking nightmare, and she had, there couldn't possibly be any indicators. She had no idea.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So they make contact with John's parents, and they learn that in 2006, his parents took out a protection order against him.
His own parents?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not good. It's not good. Yeah. It was after an incident at their home when John took out the movie Hannibal, put it in front of his mom, and told her to beware.
What?
Mm-hmm.
This guy is so fucked.
Unhinged.
Yes.
Unhinged. They said that John had a bad drinking problem and that he became mean and violent when he was drunk.
Great. And she just spent a night drinking with this guy. Right?
Mm-hmm. Fuck, man. Keep your fucking liquor under control. If you can't, then stop drinking, right?
Well, I'll be the choir over here singing while you preach, okay?
Okay. As I take a sip of my wine. I'm a very pleasant wine drinker. Okay.
You are, but you're a pleasant person all around, so.
Thank you. That's nice of you. Also, I don't get fucking shit-faced. I have a glass of wine and call it
I don't know
good.
if I can't remember the last time I saw you shit-faced, so fair enough.
I can't remember the last time I probably in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably ended poorly. And when I said I'm never doing that again, I really didn't.
Actually didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not an addict, so.
No. Well, I mean, let me hit my vape pen for a second and we'll get back to that. So then another ex-girlfriend comes forward, not Lake Stevens, a different one. And she tells the police that John was violent and had once choked her during sex.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This one is a slippery slope for me because it's like, well, it's not really a slippery slope, but I'm curious about your take on it. Like, obviously there needs to be this happened to me one time where there was no conversation to be had ahead of time. Like, I don't want to kink shame. Like, that's not necessarily an indicator that somebody is problematic, but you need to have a fucking conversation first. You don't just start choking somebody.
Oh, 100%. No. This isn't about kink shaming. This is about consent. This is about consent and understanding the boundaries of the person you're engaging in sexual activity with. Like, no one in the kink community would fucking be on board with somebody whipping out something, in the middle of sex that had not been agreed to beforehand. Correct. Yeah, no, 100%.
So that, for me too, the red flag wasn't that he enjoyed that during sex. It was that he didn't ask her first.
No, yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're on the same page here.
And also, when we're talking about choking, I mean, there's levels,
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't care what anyone says, like, you can feel intention. So there's a difference between, like, I'm going to put my hand around your throat and, like, give it a little squeeze, like maybe claim a little ownership in this moment. That's a thing, right? Between that and
we're
like
role playing. I'm not actually choking you.
Right. But or like I'm owning you right now, right? Which is a dominant kind of, it's a dominant function in that scenario. But between that and then like I'm putting my hands around your throat and like squeezing you, and it's like painful, and I'm legitimately scaring you. Yes. And there is like a vibe check in that, right? Like you can tell the difference in those intentions.
For sure.
You know?
For sure. Yes, absolutely. I don't think John Charlton had fucking good intentions.
No, I'm pretty sure he did not.
No, absolutely not. Then another ex-girlfriend came forward and said that John had once told her that he killed someone in Florida by hitting them in the head with a frying pan. And then he said that he dismembered the body and dumped them in some body of water in Florida.
Hold on. Beep, beep, boop, boop, boop. Hello, Florida police. We have a guy in custody you might want to talk to.
Yep. Seattle police did exactly that.
Oh, good.
But Florida, nothing came of it. Florida.
Fucking Florida.
You know, like we might have something like that. Who knows?
Just the limp dick of the United States.
Oh man.
I'm sorry to our listeners in Florida. We love you.
Oh man. I mean, it's beautiful in some places. The weather's nice. They've got Disney World. Good for you. But what is going on with their crime in Florida?
Know. It's like, you know what? It's that happened so long ago. We just can't even. It's fine. Whoever's dead, it's fine.
You know what? I don't get offended when people say that all serial killers come from Seattle. You're not wrong.
That's true.
Or the Pacific Northwest.
Well, I mean, they don't all, but we do have more than our fair share. Let's put it that way.
Way more. And it's like, is it like the seasonal affect disorder? Like, what's going on?
Do they start here or do they come here? You know?
There's a lot of woodsy areas to hide bodies.
I mean, Colorado has that too, but they don't have our problem.
No, we border another country, so if you want to flee, that's an option.
I mean, back in the day, that was easier, but yeah, okay, fair enough.
Sure. Anyway, so Seattle police reach out to Florida. They're like, yeah, no. So all the while, John maintains that he was too drunk to remember the events of the night.
Right. He was blackout. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's like such a fucking
totally
cliche.
Forgot that whole killed and dismembered scenario.
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he went to the game with Ingrid, but that he was pretty certain that she dropped him off downtown. However, the medical examiner says that the way the body parts were dismembered and wrapped was done with such precision that there is no way someone could be blackout drunk and be able to do that.
Right.
The guy that found the parts in his recycling bin, the first guy that my heart breaks for, said that it was wrapped like how you would see meat wrapped at a grocery store, like perfectly.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what the fuck? There's no way that you can be so drunk that you can't remember the night and then also be able to do that.
No.
And then also drive, because he drove her SUV to Belltown.
Right.
Yeah. So he's a fucking liar.
Yes.
So John Charlton entered a plea of not guilty, but just as the trial was about to start, he changed his plea.
What?
To guilty of first-degree murder. Mm-hmm.
Was this a sentencing thing?
Oh, well, here's the thing. I have mixed feelings about this. You tell me what you think about this. So in Washington State, there was a Sentencing Reform Act. I didn't look up what year that happened, but basically, one thing that people probably don't know is that judges have very fucking little say in anything, because there's a sentencing grid that judges are not allowed to deviate from.
Right. They have like ranges, but they're pretty strict ranges.
They're pretty strict. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And because Ingrid died by strangulation, it was not considered aggravated murder with a deadly weapon. Therefore, John Charlton, his maximum sentence was only 28 years.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I mean, this is why we need femicide to be categorized as an actual version of fucking homicide in this country, because to a small enough woman, a man's hands are a deadly weapon.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. They are, and they were, and they have been in countless other cases.
That's right.
And they didn't charge him with the dismemberment. He was charged with murder and theft of a motor vehicle.
They didn't charge him with the, what do you call it? Like fucking with a corpse, whatever the term is in the legal system.
Degrading a corpse
or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
No. Mm-mm. Nope. So he got the 28 years. That might have been best for the family to not sit through trial and listen to the details of what happened to Ingrid, but they were never able to learn any kind of motive, and the rest of her remains have never been located. Yeah. Fucking devastated. And there was a lot of like people who theorized that like, because all of them were specifically recycling, which has to be sorted through where garbage doesn't. Like it was intentional on his part.
He wanted people to find them.
To be traumatized by what they had come across. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So no one ever got anything out of this guy of like, what the fuck? Why?
No, nothing. I will say, and I'm not throwing this guy a fucking bone. I watched footage of his sentencing hearing. And that might be one of the very few people who, you know, because he had an opportunity to speak after Ingrid's family and friends got an opportunity to speak. And I felt legitimate remorse.
Really? Like from him?
Yeah, I think he really has some pretty significant mental health issues. Not that none of this is an excuse, but I really, I mean by the time he was being sentenced, he had really sobered up and been in there for a while and had some time to reflect. Like, I don't know. That was the impression I got, but I could be wrong.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, anyone who deliberately and maliciously murders somebody and then dismembers them clearly has mental health problems. I mean, no one does that who's healthy and well. Like no one, right? Like every single person that's ever gone to fucking prison for murdering somebody has mental health issues. Like that's not normal.
Yeah.
But it's this so guy, you know what's so weird though? This is what I was thinking. I was like, okay, so she's pretty, she's successful. You know, she sounds like a wonderful person. He's got he's got these good looks. He's got this charm. He's able to like get people to do things for him. Like, why didn't he just con her for a place to live for a while? You know, like, why didn't he? I mean, that would have been shitty, but at least she would be alive. Like, why didn't he just like find a way to ride that train instead of murder her?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Like, why is that the answer? And also, like, clearly, like, if he's got this thing with because, like, as soon as you said, like, before you even said that she was, like, strangled to death, I'm like, this guy, like, killed her while they were having sex. He probably strangled her to death because he's got some, like, sexual fantasies about, like, strangling women when he sleeps with them. Like, I just saw that. Like, that was just so obvious to me. And then the dismemberment and stuff that almost, I mean, I don't know. That's like a whole other level though. Like I could totally understand him like fleeing after murdering her and like leaving her there to be found. The whole like dismember her and then wrap her up like she's fucking steak from the butcher and leaving it in places where people are inevitably going to find it. Like,
yes, that's the part because you could, prior to that, you could have made an argument, or maybe, that the killing her during rough sex was an accident.
No, that's never an accident. No, we will never say that. No. In fact, that is a defense that men have used over the years to get off for murdering women during sex, and that is not real. Because do you know how long you have to strangle a human being in order for them to actually
You know what? You're
die?
right. You're
like
right.
7 or 8 minutes.
That's true. You're right. The
and she fought.
Yeah.
He had defensive wounds. Like
You're right. I take that all back. Thank you for that.
It's fine. I love you.
Thank you for that. But what I was going to say is like intentionally leaving her in a recycling bin blows that out of the, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, even
if,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? There was something very fucking sadistic.
No, totally. I remember when this happened. Obviously, this was not that long ago. This happened in 2016.
And this was huge in Seattle.
It was huge. It was like a big deal. Like everybody was like, what is happening? They're finding body parts in recycling bins. What the fuck? Like it was, I remember it in real time, you know, and I remember it was very much like she went on a date with a stranger that she met online. And it was like, no, she met some guy through a dating site. Like we all have done, like so many people have done and been fine, right? Like the reality is that lots of us do that and we're fine.
Well, and the thing that is scary about dating sites where this wasn't the case with Ingrid is only that very first date. Like, it's not any different than meeting someone in a bar or meeting someone at a restaurant or meeting someone at the grocery store. You get a vibe. And if the vibe is no good, that like there is some danger in meeting somebody online and having the first date be in your home where you can't get a vibe, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But she had been dating him for 4 weeks.
Yeah, no, this wasn't like they just met up the first time and went to a Mariners game. Right. That's the way they made it sound. Like she met a stranger online and they went out and he killed her. It's like, no, they had been seeing each other for like a month. They had gone out. She got the vibe check. She was into it.
Yeah,
she thought everything was good. They went to a game.
Probably been at her house before already.
Yeah, so it wasn't even about like meeting him online because she could have, like you said, she could have fucking met him anywhere.
She was not irresponsible in any way.
No.
And in fact, she was still holding firm to the, you can't stay the night here when my kids are coming home in the morning. Like she clearly had, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, he could have just as easily been somebody that she met in any other scenario, as we all do, and this would have happened.
That's right.
So, I would, strongly encourage people not to give out their address online or say,
right.
Our very first date, I'm cooking you food at my house. Yeah, don't do that. But after you've gotten the first vibe check, that's what, then at that point, it's normal dating like what we all do.
Yes.
You know?
And it's normal dangers for women like it always is.
Exactly. Thank you. And I take back what I said about what I should have said is his argument for accidentally killing her certainly wouldn't work because then it's like, why didn't you call the police? Why did you dismember her and put her in the recycling bin?
Right.
Like, why,
right.
You know?
Exactly.
All of that.
Exactly. Anyway.
Men
have been letting other men get away with murder by strangulation on quote unquote accident for way too fucking long. That's a thing. Yep. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sissy. I'm so glad. I'm just super stoked I got to be here when you finally told that story because I had not heard the whole story beginning to end. I mean, you know, I saw the news clips here and there as it was going down, but I didn't follow the story. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
welcome. I didn't cry. It didn't make me cry. Yeah. So that was a good day for us.
You're getting hardened.
Well, you know, you got to get a thick skin around here. How about I tell you a chaos story?
Okay. You have the wildest chaos stories. I am ready.
Okay. Well, first of all, sweet baby Jake is going to be so happy about this because he's the one who sent me this. He sent me a TikTok one time not that long ago and said, oh my God, this might be a chaos story. He's good. He'll send something to me and go, does this have legs? You know, like, is this enough? Is this a long enough story to make it onto the podcast? Because this might be a good chaos story. He's always... So yes, baby, this one has legs and I'm going to go ahead and tell this story and Jake gets credit for finding it. And I don't know how I've never heard it because it's kind of amazing. So I'm going to tell you the story. I'm calling it the Elvis Impersonator turned assassin ?
Okay. Fine.
All
right.
We are going to Tupelo, Mississippi. It's Wednesday, April 17th, 2013.
Okay.
And Kevin Curtis is stopping at home briefly before heading over to his ex-wife's house for dinner with his kids. And he's got his little yapper dog in his lap, a Chihuahua Jack Russell mix named Moo Cow.
Oh, I had a Jack Russell Chihuahua mix named Huey.
Did. So yeah, Kevin and Moo Cow are on their way back to the house, and then they're going to go have dinner with his ex-wife and the kids. And Kevin's been a little on edge lately. He's pretty sure he's been followed the last few days, and he's certain he's being tailed by a guy in sunglasses driving a Crown Vic or an SUV. And he's not sure, but he thinks he even hears the telltale sound of a helicopter above.
Oh, God.
As he pulls onto his street and up to the mailboxes to check his mail before heading to the house, a fleet of cars and SUVs, 20, 25, all swarm in around him, screeching as they slam on their brakes, and all the alphabet agencies are there. FBI, Homeland Security, local police, Secret Service, Capitol Police.
Holy shit.
Kevin can't even imagine that it's all for him. He's literally looking around for whatever bad guy these spooks are chasing, right? But it's him. They're drawing their weapons on him, and they're yelling at him to freeze, do not move, do not resist, we will shoot you.
Oh my God.
And Kevin is really confused. He's like, me? And they yelled at him, shut up, get out of the car and get on the ground.
Oh no.
Yeah. So Kevin scoops up Moo Cow and steps out of his car with his little dog in his arms, and they yell at him to drop the dog, drop the dog. So he asks if he can take her inside first. And they tell him abso-fucking-lutely not. So he puts her in the driver's seat, and they cuff him, wrist and ankle, shackle his wrists to his waist. And he's still trying to wrap his head around the fact that he's being arrested, and they won't tell him anything. All his questions are answered with a shut up and we'll ask the questions.
Oh, Jesus. This sounds fucking terrifying.
One of the officers tries to grab Moo Cow, but she is not having it. And she growls and jumps out of the car and runs off, and Kevin is yelling after her, Moo Cow! So Kevin is put into a car and driven 90 miles away to the Lafayette County Jail in Oxford, and no one will tell him where they are taking him or why.
Okay, that seems kind of fucked. Okay.
He's chained to a chair in an interrogation room, and they let him sweat for hours.
What?
Late in the evening, some agents of some agency finally come in to start interrogating Kevin. They tell him there's a young girl clinging to life in a Tupelo hospital because of what he did. One agent is actually tearing up when they tell him this. They ask him, you want her death on you? You tell us what was in there. Kevin has no idea what they're talking about. And he's like, what was in what? But they won't tell him. One of the Homeland Security officers finally comes out with it. Are you familiar with ricin?
Ooh.
And Kevin's all, I don't like rice. I don't really eat rice. If y'all look in my house, you won't find any rice.
Oh my God, Kevin. Oh, rice.
And then they explain to him they mean ricin, like anthrax. And they call him a liar when he says he has no idea what that is.
Oh my God.
Turns out that 3 people had received suspicious envelopes in the mail containing a white powder substance that turned out to be ricin. A local judge in Tupelo, a state senator, and none other than the president of the United States himself, Barack Obama.
Whoa.
For the record, no one was injured, and there was definitely no girl in the hospital holding on to dear life because of it.
They made that up?
They totally made that fucking up.
Those fuckers.
Fucking, yeah. Mm-hmm. All 3 envelopes also contained a letter, all of them exactly the same. The letter said, No one wanted to listen to me before. There are still missing pieces. Maybe I have your attention now, even if that means someone must die. This must stop. To see a wrong and not expose it is to become a silent partner to its continuance. I am KC and I approve this message.
I am KC and I approve this message.
So who is Kevin Curtis and how did he get here?
Uh-huh.
Well, he used to run his own janitorial business, quite a successful one, while moonlighting as an Elvis impersonator.
Oh.
A really good one, by all accounts. He had been performing as Elvis since he was a kid. His mom even drove him to Memphis to have an Elvis suit made by Elvis's official suit maker and a belt made by Elvis's official belt maker. And she took out a bank loan to cover this bill.
Holy shit. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. She met Elvis in 1954, and decades later, when he was in the Vegas part of his career, you know, the shitty part, he would call her up once in a while so they could pray together.
Pray?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yep. Kevin's mom and Elvis, they would have prayer calls.
Little prayer sesh. Got it. Okay. Cool.
In his late 20s, he was on his second marriage. Kevin was. They were raising kids. He was running the cleaning crew, which was his janitorial business, and Elvis gigs were pouring in. He and his older brother Jack would regularly perform together as Double Trouble. Young Elvis and Vegas Elvis on stage together.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Double Trouble.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Back in 1998, his cleaning company, got a gig cleaning and buffing floors at a local hospital when one night he got sit down to clean a bloody mess, literally, in the morgue. There was like a drain clogged and blood everywhere. It was a whole thing.
Oh, God.
So he's down there for hours working on this job. He gets thirsty and he goes looking for a Dr. Pepper or something. He opens a fridge to find a bunch of body parts wrapped in plastic with barcode stickers on them. He claims...
Not a Dr. Pepper.
Not a Dr. Pepper.
No.
He claims that the next day he's hauled into the hospital CEO's office by security, told he'd been poking around in an unauthorized area and that he's being suspended without pay while they investigate. And they want him to sign papers about it. And he's like,
I'm just looking for a fucking soda.
Right. Well, he refuses to sign these papers and he thinks the whole thing's suspicious that they got on him about poking around where those body parts were. He gets banned for life from the hospital. I don't know what was going on in this office. And he decides that because of what he saw and because of the way that they reacted and responded to it, that there's some underground black market body part ring going on in Tupelo.
Okay. That's quite the leap, Kevin.
Yep. And so began his descent into the rabbit hole of his crusade against the conspiracy of this black market body part trade.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He lost a series of jobs. His Elvis gigs dried up after he raved to an audience about it while he was on stage dressed as Elvis.
That's not what Elvis would do.
No. And then he had a long series of arrests for petty charges: cyberstalking, public intoxication, assault, 22 arrests in 13 years.
Holy shit, that's a lot.
Yeah, and then a series of unfortunate events that he believed to be deliberate attacks on his truth crusade. His car exploded. His house burned down. It killed a dog, a rabbit, and a cat. His now ex-wife, Laura, left. She couldn't even anymore with this guy. She says the house fire was their fault. Who knows what happened? And the car explosion was likely due to a bad battery. It was not like people were out to get him. There was perfectly good explanations for these things. But even the loss of his marriage wasn't enough to change his mind. Kevin basically became a jobless loner who spent all his time on his MySpace pages telling the internet about this conspiracy.
Oh, no.
And he signed all his posts with the same thing. I am KC and I approve this message.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
He even wrote a novel and a play about this body part conspiracy.
A play?
Mm-hmm. But neither were picked up for production or distribution by anyone.
Weird.
So back to this interrogation. 7 hours they've been grilling him, a suspected terrorist, basically. And finally, these agents were starting to get the feeling that maybe this guy wasn't the guy they were looking for. So they asked him if he has any enemies, anyone that may want to harm him. And Kevin says, yeah, Everett Dutchke.
Obs. Who the fuck is that?
Well, let me tell you who the hell Everett Dutchke is and what's his problem with Kevin. In 2006, Everett, among many other endeavors, apparently ran an independent newspaper. Kevin remembers that on the front page, it said something like, I will print any story in Northeast Mississippi, no matter how big or small or controversial. If the Daily Journal, the Tupelo newspaper, will not tell your story, I will.
Ooh. Okay.
And Kevin was all, hell yeah, have I got a story? Right?
Yeah.
There is a body part black market going on around here, and nobody's listening to me.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So he leaves Everett a voicemail describing the conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
But Everett didn't respond to him.
Uh-oh.
And Kevin was
Everett
pissed.
didn't keep his word.
He did not.
Mm-hmm.
And because apparently Tupelo is not that large of a town, it turns out that Everett was also working at an insurance agency at the time, the same place that Kevin's ex-wife worked. And when Kevin overheard Laura talking about a company lunch coming up, he decided to crash that lunch so he could confront Everett about this affront to the truth.
He needs to pitch his story.
Yes.
At the company lunch.
He wants to know why Everett is not going to call him back so he can tell him the story.
Mm-hmm.
According to Kevin, Everett said that he was running for office and he couldn't afford to run something in his newspaper that was critical of the hospital. So in addition to insurance salesman and aspiring politician, Everett was also a Tai Kwan Do instructor, a member of Mensa, which is a high IQ society, an ace at a Rubik's Cube, and trying desperately to be a successful rock and roll band frontman.
Okay, pick a thing, Everett. We're all over the place.
Well, I mean,
that's a lot of stuff.
So's Kevin.
Okay, well, fair enough.
Kevin called Everett a liar since he refused to run the story after he said he would run any story. And Everett told Laura after the encounter that he never wanted to run into Kevin ever again. Like, I don't want to talk to that guy ever again. Okay. So that is the feud origin story.
Okay.
Everett's story is almost as winding as Kevin's. He was born in Louisville, Kentucky in 1971. He was raised in Texas. When he was 17, his older brother died from suicide, and that impacted his worldview immensely. In the martial arts area of his life, he had a patchy history. One studio fired him on suspicions of theft. Another let him go for supposedly having an affair with one of his students' married mother. Oh. He denies this, but he did marry her and then divorced her 6 months later.
Okay.
Laura, Kevin's ex-wife, said that Everett wasn't really well liked at the insurance agency. He got made fun of a lot. She felt kind of bad for him and helped him out where she could. And she brought him into her department and he became the best salesman in the office.
Okay.
She also claims that he flirted with her a lot, although Everett denies that.
Okay.
So that political campaign he used as the reason for not running Kevin's story was for a state house seat against Steve Holland, who was a long-term Democratic incumbent who would be almost impossible to beat, especially since Everett's strategy hinged on a smear campaign comparing Holland to Boss Hogg from the Dukes of Hazzard and suggesting Holland was good friends with the 9/11 hijackers.
Okay. Wow. We've got a couple of unhinged dudes here.
Yeah. So in an interview years later, Holland would say of Everett Dutschke, quote, "I had never stood eyeball to eyeball or dick to dick with the man, but for some reason he just hated the hell out of me. He called me everything from gay to communist, everything but a child of God. I mean, he had no campaign or agenda except to cut my nuts out. But you got to get your ass up early and go to bed late to beat my ass. I've held this seat for 30 years. I can absolutely make love to a bull moose on the steps of the Lee County Courthouse and garner more than 5% of the vote."
Oh my God. Wow.
Tupelo, Amber.
These are the leaders.
Tupelo.
Okay, great. Standing dick to dick. Okay.
Worth noting,
Wow.
the judge that received one of those rice-and-lace letters was Holland's mother.
Oh, shit.
Who he owns a funeral parlor with, and who Kevin Curtis also hates because he's convinced that Holland is part of the black market body parts conspiracy.
Of course. With the funeral parlor and all.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So not long after Everett got his ass whipped in the election, the feud between him and Kevin heated up. Most of it played out on the internet, where they each claimed the other was cyberstalking on Facebook and on MySpace. No one believed Kevin's claim that Everett was the real stalker, so he tried to trap Everett by creating a fake Mensa certificate claiming to be a member of this stupid elite organization of supposed geniuses, and Everett came for Kevin about it. It was a whole thing. And Kevin has the receipts.
Uh-huh.
Like, take that down. You're not a member of Mensa. You're a liar. This is a sacred organization. You do not earn the certificate. That's fake. And Kevin wouldn't take it down. It was a whole thing. So when Kevin refused to take the certificate down, Everett offered up a trial by combat as a resolution.
Okay.
Naming a time the next day for the two men to meet down at Everett's dojo.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin says he went and Everett wasn't there. And Everett says that Kevin never showed up.
They got the directions wrong? They were each in different spots?
I don't know.
Oh my God. Fuck.
As Wells Tower would write in his essay for GQ titled "The Elvis Impersonator, the Karate Instructor, a Fridge Full of Severed Heads, and the Plot to Kill the President," quote, "No one around town is able to explain how these strangers came to matter so bitterly to each other. Perhaps it was the traditional loathing of two men who liked the same lady, or perhaps Curtis and Dutschke, who also nourished hopes of musical celebrity, couldn't tolerate another man chasing his particular dream. Or perhaps Tupelo was just too small a town for two conspiracy-minded, snappy-dressing, nunchuck-swinging rock and roll men to coexist in harmony."
That's what I'm going with.
So the thing is, Everett had his own run-ins with the law. It would appear that Everett had a propensity for standing in his living room with the curtains open and exposing himself to minors.
Okay, Prost, fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, which got him 90 days in jail and a $364 fine.
Okay, a slap on the wrist.
But not long after that, he was picked up again, accused of molesting a few girls under the age of 16 at his martial arts studio.
God.
He eventually made bail on that one, but the entire time, Kevin was gleefully and jauntily posting all over the internet about it. Laura, Kevin's ex-wife, literally asked him, like, "Did you frame him?" And Kevin's response was like, "No, but I fucking wish I had." So Everett did not appreciate Kevin being so publicly, nanner about it all online.
Uh-huh.
So now it's 2013 and Kevin is finally convincing the feds that he is not the guy and they maybe should look into Everett Dutschke. And they found plenty of evidence. They had a witness who claimed that Everett had actually bragged to know how to make the poison and that he had secret knowledge of how to get rid of people in office.
Ooh.
An FBI surveillance team watched Dutschke haul a coffee grinder box from his dojo down an alley and into a dumpster. And when they retrieved that box, it contained latex gloves, a dust mask, and drain trap dregs that tested positive for ricin.
Ooh.
They recovered a document from his laptop titled Standard Operating Procedure for Ricin, which described how to handle and store ricin. And they also found the eBay and PayPal receipts for 2 orders of red castor beans, which are the base ingredient for ricin. And then there were text messages sent from his wife's phone with instructions to get a fire going because someone was coming over to burn some things. And this was just days before Everett was arrested, which was 4 days after Kevin was released.
Wow. What a fucking dum-dum.
Yeah, that thing is, Everett was a member of Mensa, right? He was supposedly this really smart guy. But his plot to frame Kevin for these assassination attempts was just amateur hour. It all pointed back to him so glaringly and easily. Some people in town actually speculate that facing the possibility of 45 years in prison in Mississippi for child molestation in a prison known for not being too kind to child molesters made him look for a way to get into a kinder, gentler federal pen and get one last jab at Kevin Curtis in the process.
Oh my God. This reminds me of Office Space.
Right?
It's not really a vacation. It's federal pound me in the ass prison.
It didn't really help him much. In April of 2014, he was found guilty on the child molestation charges and received a 45-year sentence. And in May of 2014, so like a month later, he pled guilty to the 5 federal charges related to use of a bioweapon against the sitting president of the United States. Changing his plea to guilty saved him from a life sentence and gave him a 25-year sentence instead.
Wow.
Moo Cow survived the ordeal, having been shot with a tranq dart and taken to the pound. Kevin had to pay $200 to get her out. I did find an IMDb entry in 2015 for a documentary film titled I Didn't Do It. And a little digging revealed it was a project that Kevin was doing, Elvis gigs, to try to raise funds to produce. But I don't think it actually happened. He filed lawsuits multiple times over his false arrest, at least one of them against Everett, but they all were dismissed for inactivity, basically. He did some talk shows and such, like right after it happened, but it appears his 15 minutes has come and gone.
Yeah.
And that's the story of how a janitor / Elvis impersonator was framed for the assassination attempt of Barack Obama by a child molesting Tai Kwan Do instructor / political hopeful / wannabe rock star.
Oh my God. Holy shit, sister. Where the fuck did Sweet Baby Jake find that?
TikTok.
Okay, I guess I need to get on the TikTok because I've never heard anything so bonkers.
No, let other people be on the TikToks and just send you the good stuff. That's what I do.
Shit. I've never heard of anything so bonkers in my life. Wow.
I mean, Donut Lady will always have a place.
Yeah, she has a place in my heart, but this is next level. What in the fuck? Oh my God. Wow.
So the GQ article that I referenced, it'll be in my show notes. It was really, really well done. There's a lot of color that could have been added to this. I could have gone on a lot more had I done that. So if you want to dive deeper into all the characters in Tupelo, Mississippi, by all means, go and find that article. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Moo Cow.
Good one. Moo Cow. I think it was unnecessary to shoot Moo Cow with the tranquilizer dart, but okay. I'm glad Moo Cow made it through.
It's better than what law enforcement usually does with dogs they have to deal with, which is just shoot them with guns. So
that's true.
Moo Cow made it out alive. So it could have been way worse.
Moo Cow. Moo Cow's the unsung hero in this story, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Fucking amazing. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Wow. Do you have anything for the good of the order?
I mean, just the usual stuff, guys. Go give us a 5-star rating on whatever app you're using. Give us a review. Send us hate mail or love letters at crimewineandchaos@gmail.com. Go follow us on the socials. We're at the Twitter. We're on the Insta. We're on the on the Facebook. Come talk to us. Send us your story ideas or whatever, man. We just want to hear what you have to say. I mean, yeah, we want to hear what you have to say. And if you want to just, come follow along with my weird shit on Twitter, you can find me at Misnomers, MISSGNOMERS. Yeah, that's it. We're still working on that special announcement that we talked about last week, but trust us, it's going to be good. And we can't wait to tell you about it. What about you, sis? Anything I missed? Anything you want to say?
Go check out Tinfoil Top Hat on Spotify, iTunes, all your other listening platforms.
Fuck yeah.
We're at tinfoiltophat.com. If you like a little indie rock, Seattle vibe music, go check
100%.
that out. And
do it. That sounds good. Well,
thank you,
sister, that was a good time. Mostly part. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah, we did it. We made it. Love
and
you.
And it was so chaotic.
Fucking chaotic. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Crime, Wine, and Chaos. The podcast art was done by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Paul Abner. You can find us on Facebook at Crime, Wine, and Chaos, on Instagram at Crime, Wine, and Chaos Pod, or check out our website at crimewineandchaos.com. Cheers!